One of our most popular issues this year was on the topic of law firm failures. There's been a lot of discussion about this, particularly since the kind of big collapses of Dewey LaBeouf and some of the other firms that failed around the Great Recession. Uh, we had a really interesting piece by a very brilliant young academic named John Morley from Yale, who looked at a lot of data around what law firms look like at the time they failed. And his theory was law firms don't fail for this reason that ordinary businesses fail, which means essentially they run out of capital or they have more debts than assets. The ironic thing is that many firms, including Heenan Blakey, for example, in Canada, were going concerns on the day that they failed. They were actually technically profitable, and law firms have the ability to manipulate their assets and liabilities, so to speak, because their biggest liability is, of course, the payment of partners. But that's actually where the rubber hits the road. Because as Morley found, what happens is that law firms essentially unravel as partners begin to leave, seeing other partners who are leaving, finding nobody who wants to be the last person turning off the lights. And that leads to a increasing exodus of partners, which eventually leads to the firm collapse. Now, of course, that begs a deeper question, which is why are all those partners leaving even though the firm is profitable? And here, in another part of the issue, Dan DiPietro, who's been the keeper of the secrets at Citigroup for many years, said that a lot of it has to do, quite frankly, with management issues of firms. And the management not being able to manage the expectations of partners, not to be able to build a kind of coherent vision of where the firm is going, that partners can believe in, even in tough times. And that has become increasingly difficult as law firms have lots of people moving in and out at both the associate and the partner level, which makes it more and more difficult to develop a coherent strategy. Although some firms with lots of lateral partners have managed to do this quite successfully. The real question is, are we going to see many more law firm failures moving forward? In fact, many people might have predicted after Dewey's collapse in 2010 or 2011 that we were going to see a whole string of law firm failures. And we really haven't seen that many in the last few years. But that may be deceptive, because what may be happening is that many firms which are at risk of failure have recognized that fact earlier and have looked for other ways, for example, by finding merger partners or developing split offs or having layoffs of partners to try to avoid that fate. At the end of the day, we're left with the structural fact about the legal profession that makes it different than almost any other professional service, which is it still is the most fragmented professional service that one can find if one looks at accounting or one looks at engineering or consulting or medicine. We see much more consolidation than we do in law. And therefore, it shouldn't be surprising that over the next few years, we're going to see a growing amount of consolidation. Some of it will be strategic to try to build strategic advantage, but some of it will be firms that would otherwise be at risk of unraveling, entering into collaborations in order to prevent that fate.